Hello there everyone! Today I will be bringing you another video on a crazy idea these flat earthers have called universal acceleration. Flat earthers who propose this idea say that we are not accelerating towards Earth's center of mass at a rate of 9.8 meters per second, but instead that the Earth is accelerating upwards at a rate of 9.8 meters per second. Before I get into the meat and bones of this article, I want you to look at the table of contents for the article. You will notice that there is no section labeled evidence anywhere in this article. That's because no evidence for this idea is ever provided. That means there is no reason to accept universal acceleration over Einstein's theory of general relativity or Isaac Newton's theory of gravity as an explanation for why we fall towards the Earth at an accelerating rate of 9.8 meters per second, which was the only reason that the authors of this article propose universal acceleration at all. We're already into the table of contents and this article has essentially failed. Another thing you may notice in the table of contents is that there is a large section of this article dedicated to explaining things related to general and special relativity, including why you can't accelerate to the speed of light, or what the equivalence principle is. I will be skipping this section for two reasons. First off, even though I understand the basics of general and special relativity, I do not feel confident enough in being able to talk about for a while, and I would really not want to spread any misinformation about these theories. The second reason is the article mainly just explains what these theories are, and not so much provides any evidence for the universal acceleration model. As such, it's not really needed to go into this to debunk the article. However, I do want to quickly go over what the equivalence principle is. It is basically an idea in physics, specifically general relativity, that states that you cannot tell the difference between acceleration due to gravity or all your surroundings accelerating while you stay stationary. Once you get past all the information about special relativity and the equivalence principle, which I will remind you that since no actual evidence for universal acceleration is provided in that section, it is okay to skip over it without creating a straw man, you get to the section labeled Explanations for Universal Acceleration. There are several explanations for UA plus ultra, as it is difficult for proponents of flat earth theory to obtain grant money for scientific research. I wonder why it is nigh on impossible to determine which of these theories is correct. As I have previously stated, no evidence is provided that UA is even a valid explanation for the effect of gravity on Earth. What the Flat Earth Society is trying to do here is provide explanations for a phenomenon that has not even been substantiated. This is just plain silly. After the explanation section, there is a short Q&A section where they offer the universal acceleration explanation for common effects we see on Earth attributed to gravity, such as the tides and terminal velocity. I do not see any glaring weakness in the terminal velocity section, whether in logical reasoning or scientific fact due to the equivalence principle. However, in the section on tidal effects, there is both a logical error and a scientific error. Firstly, they commit a special pleading fallacy, which is where you provide an exception to a rule you have established without providing a reason why in order to make your argument work. Here they state that gravitational force does exist, and that it is exerted by celestial bodies and objects on Earth. However, this entire section is about how Earth seems to be immune to gravity in spite of this. They provide no reasoning for why Earth is unaffected by gravitational force. The scientific error is more a failure to explain something that the global model does explain. Although the article is correct in stating that gravity is weaker as you get higher in altitude, higher altitudes are not the only places on Earth where gravity is weaker. The effect of gravity on Earth is also weaker as you get closer to the equator. The idea of stars having a greater gravitational effect as you get higher in altitude in no way explains this phenomenon of gravity being weaker as you get closer to the equator. Not to mention that if the stars were to have a noticeable effect on gravity here on Earth over just a couple thousand feet, they would have to be incredibly close. Much closer than they actually are, which is millions to billions of light years away. Now, at the very end of the Universal Acceleration article, the Flat Earth Society provides another explanation that does accept gravity called the Davis model. Now, I myself cannot go into the math and say whether it is valid or invalid, if he made mathematical mistakes or not, as it involves calculus and I am not fluent in calculus. In fact, next year in high school I am taking pre-calc. However, I can look at other logical errors in this part. They say that he proved that Earth is an infinite disk with finite gravity. If he did prove it, then why are they trying to push universal acceleration at all? Why does it get so little space here in this article? That is not even to mention that how you prove something in science and how you prove something in math is wildly different. In science, you put an idea to the test by putting it in a scenario where it makes predictions and seeing if those predictions come true or not. In math, you use your axioms and premises provided and try to construct them in a creative and logical way where what you are trying to prove is shown to be true, making John Davis's proof that the Earth is an infinite disk with finite mass pointless. Well everyone, that was all. If you liked my content, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, go beyond, plus ultra.